People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. As the big man Ian Wright said there, people deluded, I'm back again. This guy threw me off with your eyes, man. Why have you got to do that? You could have let the beginning just flow easily. What are you saying, Alex?
Have you got a new intro?
Something like that, man. Something like that. Yeah.
Like
I'm trying to be like you, man.
It was quite. I don't know if I can say it. The word that rhymes with corn. It was quite the doom.
This guy.
End
your mind, man.
It's 10 a.m. I'm ready, baby.
This guy, man, you threw me completely off.
Also, what does SNNN mean? You text me that quite a bit. I don't know what it means. That.
Say no more. Say nay.
Say no more. I knew it meant like it's right, but I didn't know what it stood for.
It's too early for you to be doing this, man. I can't believe we're live. You know, if we wasn't live, I'd start this all over again.
Good morning, everyone. Arsenal v Porto.
Yeah, man.
Deluded.
Let's start there, bro. Like, as we were saying, I mean, as you said in the private chat, we got to war today, man. You know what? Before we get into Porto, let's go with the Premier League first, man. Obviously, you know, before we actually talk Arsenal, Brentford, congratulations for being very close to 60,000 people. I've told this man, if he doesn't get to 100K by the end of the year, delete my number, and he's on that path. So make sure you're following and them things. Before we talk about Brentford, though, on Sunday, was that the best result that could have happened for Arsenal with City and Liverpool drawing, broski?
I think so. I slightly thank you, Classified. Appreciate it. No, we won't see Martinelli because he's out. I think so because the only thing I said, I can't remember if I said it to you on here. Maybe I did, but I can't remember. I wasn't against a Liverpool win because essentially I think about it like I think people are kind of overestimating or were overestimating, and now we're here. People have forgotten about it, but that game felt a lot of people going like, this is the last possible chance. There's over a quarter of the season to go. Like it's
10 games left.
It's a very important. Yeah, I know you don't look at the table, but you know
I don't look at the table. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Exactly. It's you know, there's over a quarter of the season left, so like you know, it's gonna take some time, right? So yeah, I was all about trying to find opportunities for Man City to be pegged back because I think once City go, they're gone.
They're gone, yeah.
And I can't see them dropping points anywhere other than against us and at Anfield. I'm more confident about Liverpool dropping points. So I was up for Liverpool winning. I appreciate people might just say, just take the draw. That's the best possible result. But there's so much football left to play. And I think we want as few points for City as possible personally. But that said, I do think it was a very, very good weekend for Arsenal.
Do you reckon that does hold true with Liverpool? Because some would say out of everybody, they've got the easier games.
I don't know. I looked at this yesterday. I think... I don't quite know where this is coming from because I think it's about equal. So we've got Chelsea, City, Luton, Brighton, Villa, Wolves, Spurs, Bournemouth, United, Everton, and then Liverpool and City have they also have Villa. They also both have Spurs. They also both have Chelsea. Or I think they both got to go away to Fulham. So I don't know. I think you could read it any way you want. In the end, every game in the Premier League is hard. Every game in the Premier League is, difficult. It is, and you can make it more difficult for yourself if you don't turn up. So, yeah, I just win our games. Just win our games.
Do you think the stars are aligning for us, man? Because I hear what you're saying about Liverpool and City and what the others are doing, but it just feels like everything's coming together.
Are you believing?
I mean, I don't look at the league table, but
you're believing,
it's difficult not to believe the narrative that Arsenal are in the Premier League race. Like yesterday, I woke up and someone said Arsenal are top of the league. I was like, fantastic. Last time I checked was August. So yeah, next time I'll check is May. So yeah, if that is the case, do you believe that the stars are aligning for us to win the Premier League. I mean, I think it's safe to say in the next few years, if we don't win it this year, Arteta will achieve something of significance. But yeah, where are you at with that?
As you know, I've always predicted us to come second. I'm not going to change that prediction because I still what I find hilarious is like I record with George, who says quite a bit, and we were talking yesterday, and I was saying, Arsenal fans are nervous. Why are we nervous? I was like, I'll tell you why we're nervous, because we're up against two of the best Premier League managers of all time. The treble winners, probably, I would say, certainly, but I think at least arguably the best club side of all time in Man City, in my opinion. And I appreciate that could be argued. Like, of course we're nervous. Now, that doesn't... Fans, I was sat here on this podcast saying, I'm a bit nervous. Isn't going to affect William Saliba. I promise you.
And if it did, there'd be serious problems, yeah.
I promise you. Look, listen to me now. I promise you. Someone on the internet saying they're nervous about the game tonight doesn't affect the team. It doesn't.
And it shouldn't.
It doesn't. I promise you it doesn't. You get that whole thing of just focus, man. Focus up. You're not on the team. You're not playing right.
Yeah, you're not playing, bro. You're not playing, cuz. You're not playing, bro. That stuff is so funny. Like, we need to be together and all of that. And it's true. And you're right, man. Like, at the end of the day, I don't think nerves are a bad thing. If the players were nervous, you're human. It's how you channel that and go about it. I think the players are well aware, not just where the Premier League is concerned, but the Champions League. It's the do or die part of the season. Today, you either win or you're going out, really and truly. So it all depends what you make of it.
I also think, and I don't know about you, whenever I've been nervous before something, the moment that I actually start doing it, the nerves kind of drop.
Yeah.
Because you actually, it's all the anticipation, and then
it's all mental, man.
And then I think might have spoken about it in the Carabao Cup. I think we recorded it the day after that. We then project nerves. We're nervous in the game. And then we watch them with their, when they're literally in the moment going, they must be nervous. That's why they gave away that ball. How about they just gave away the ball? That's also possible. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny how things work, man. And again, in terms of nerves, it's a privilege. Pressure's a privilege. Like I'm not going to say we've turned the corner at Arsenal, but we have. We've come a long way from back-to-back apes. This is where we want to be, and I agree with people that are saying, talking about nerves. As you said, you've got arguably the best ever club side in City, definitely arguably the best ever manager in Pep Guardiola. Obviously, Liverpool have been there, done it, won it all. Klopp's potentially leaving, he is leaving, and that could potentially give them a boost. And we're kind of the new kids on the block. We are experienced, or we're a bit more seasoned, but there's an air of naivety. The only thing I would say is you just wish that we got something more in the 2 games against Fulham, against Chelsea, Spurs, etc., because despite all of that, despite not having an out-and-out striker, we're still in and around it. So it is lovely what Mikel Arteta is doing. What did you, before we get onto the Porto game in its entirety, we got to talk about Brentford, man. 8 wins on the spin. We won the game. We're handling our business. What did you make of the game, man?
Wait, the Brentford game or the Porto game?
Brentford.
The Brentford game.
We got to get to Porto, man. We got to have some structure, my friend.
Yeah, I think it was one of those games where it was very results-based analysis. I thought we were fairly well held by Brentford. I was frustrated a little bit by the lack of central penetration. I thought Brentford defended really, really well, sort of in that 5, but also sort of shuffling us out wide. For some reason, we just couldn't access the centre. We weren't using the centre.
And the elite time wasting.
The elite time wasting. They were defending really, really well, getting out to our wingers very quickly. So yeah, they did really well, especially without their first choice 11. I think say we conceded late, we'd all be going, what, horrible performance, terrible, we were awful or whatever. And actually, because we win, we completely changed the script. I don't think we were particularly good, but we got away with it, which is, title winners have to do that at points during a season. So I'm fine with that. Can't play, your absolute best every season, every game, sorry. So yeah, I credit to Brentford, honestly. My feeling coming away from it was well done, Brentford, for locking us down, for restricting us to very few chances. We got over the line, but that's because, I think someone mentioned it earlier, we have players now like Kai Havertz who grows. We have players like Declan Rice who grow. I don't know, sort of the Emirates era, I think, has been defined by a lot of players who, when the pressure's on, they're like a souffle. Like you open the oven and the souffle shrinks. It's like that's the sense of who they are as players, at least, and the structure doesn't allow them to as well, which is an issue. But now we both have the structure, and the individuals who grow into the moment. And you can feel players specific. You can literally pick out names: Saliba, Gabriel, and White, like celebrating a free kick because it means they might win. That level of getting up for something. And it's very easy to say that and then not actually look at the conditions that allows them to do that. We have an elite structure with Mikel Arteta, which allows us to create a number of chances, which allows us to concede so few chances, put up the XG differential numbers that we have done. So yes, that structure is important, but I also think the individuals, the Rices, the Havertzes, the Ben Whites, I'd even argue, players like Kivior, you can just, he's not there, he's not at that level, but you can watch him slowly growing into this role. So that's been my favorite thing over the last sort of couple of weeks, is seeing and watching these players grow into their stature, I'd say.
I think you're bang on the money, man. And I'm rarely right about these predictions, but I told people going into the Brentford game, football's a weird one. It's like, we've been, as you said, we've been playing amazing. We've been blitzing teams, keeping clean sheets, handling business. I said the Brentford game would be a sobering reminder that it's not every week you score 4, 5, 6s and stuff like that. And people were sitting there and telling me in my live streams, they haven't got their strongest back line. And yeah, that should give us more confidence, definitely with our form. But you look at some of the best results we've amassed this season. We haven't necessarily done that with our best players or the best 11 or what fans would say on paper. Brentford are playing for pride. They're almost fighting for their lives. And I think people discounted just how good of a manager Thomas Frank is. I know he's got selective memory and he's talking about Havertz should have been sent off and he's forgetting we should add some penalties. But as you said, I think defensively they were solid. I think obviously they took the sting out of the game naturally, as frustrating as it is from an Arsenal perspective. I get it. You allow us to play football, we're going to annihilate you. I agree with what you said in that it weren't the crispest of games in terms of central penetration and creating chances, but we got it over the line. As you said, if we are to win the league, I look at that game in the same way I look at Man City against Newcastle to a degree, or Liverpool against Burnley. You've just got to get over the line. And it is lovely that we've got that ugly element. I don't think necessarily Kai Havertz's goal or the build-up play or Declan Rice's was ugly. But, it's not necessarily sexy scoring headers, but we got it done. And long may it continue with Kai Havertz. I think he's had a hand in 6 goals in 4 games. He scored in his last 4. He's playing well up front. The whole team's doing the job. And to go back to what you said about mentality, in previous years, we would have drew that. Ramsdale is the villain. That's why we lost the game. Whether things happen or mistakes happen, we get up and stand up to be counted. We can't not talk about Aaron Ramsdale though, man. Like, why do you think that mistake happened? Because I'm starting to believe, not overconfidence, but I thought initially that it was a thing where obviously he's not been playing. There's a lot of pressure. You're overthinking everything. But then on reflection, and I watched the game again, he had that lovely throw for Trossard. He tried the kind of Raya-esque passes that didn't come off. I don't think it was a confidence thing. I just think it was a mixture of maybe overconfidence and just taking one touch too many and not doing the basics. Now, it did disappoint me when we did concede it, because on the edge of half time. And unfortunately, for even Ramsdale's dad, his biggest supporter, unfortunately, people could sit there and say Raya might not be perfect, but that's why he starts ahead of you in Mikel Arteta's plan. So, yeah, man, where is you at with the mistake?
Yes. I think certainly there's a confidence issue. I don't know whether it was 100% over or under. Sometimes people compensate and appear too confident because they're underconfident. I don't know. True. I don't know, but I do think. I think the thing I'd say about Ramsdale is there's so many angles to take on it, but I don't think you can. What I've seen is a little bit of divorcing of analysis, of sort of going, this has happened because Mikel chose Raya, or this has happened because Ramsdale's clearly rusty, or this has happened. We have to take the system in its totality. In the end, when Raya came in, right? How many different narratives have we had of Ramsdale? We've had
about 20 million, man. From the moment the man signed for us, like
exactly. When he first came in, who is this guy? He's coming from Sheffield.
Back to relegations,
rubbish, right? I was one of them, by the way, saying what.
To be honest, I actually was with Ramsdale. Like, it's a bit like with Kai Havertz in that I weren't against it. I weren't really moved by it, but I weren't against it. I've been wrong about a lot of things, but Ramsdale.
I think if that signing happened now, I think a lot more fans would be open to it because we trust the talent idea. But it was in 2021, so fair enough. He had to prove himself. So yeah, he's rubbish, and then he's actually all right. He seems better than Leno. He's in the team. He's actually really, really good. And then we get is he good enough for a title winning team? Then we get Raya. Who's better? We've had all of these different question marks over Ramsdale and Raya in the end, what's actually changing? The guy isn't changing. The player isn't changing. All that's changing is our lens on it. And, we're just looking at it from different perspectives. He himself hasn't changed. He is a very up and down young goalkeeper who can produce you those moments of, the Trossard, throw out and build up, who can produce you that moment of I think was it the Reece Nelson chance against Brentford
against Liverpool,
last time?
Or was it
against Liverpool, you're right. Who can create those moments, who can pull out that Salah save. Well, I think he's a step to the left too far, but he can pull out those moments that certainly you go, oh my goodness me, and credit to him. But like the James Maddison save, moments like that where you go, that is world class.
Leeds in Liverpool last season, man, when he's constantly under pressure.
Exactly, Leeds. So he can pull that out, but he can also pass to the wrong player against Southampton, or he can pull out that moment where he throws it into the ground against Brentford, or this mistake with Wissa. So what's really happening there? Well, you're watching a young goalkeeper making mistakes in the limelight. That's never changed. So people
even Brentford away, he didn't make a mistake, but I think Declan Rice cleared one off the line. He looked a bit shaky in that, if I'm completely honest with you. So you're right, man.
Then the question mark comes to this situation and what's happened with David Raya. David Raya and Ramsdale are completely different in the build-up. And I remember sitting on this show, and I remember sitting on various shows and saying it may seem small, but it's not. It's not inconsequential, and you get used to it. In the same way that I likened it, and sorry to anyone if this hits home for anyone. It's like when a pet passes away. People think of it's just a dog or a cat, or whatever. But actually, the little
everyone apart from Kurt Zuma, there, man.
The little, and people say, "Oh, it's just a cat, or whatever." You'll get over it, kind of. But actually, say it's a dog, the little moment where it comes in the morning, wakes you up, or, the little walk around the block at lunchtime, all those little things, they add up, and they really feel like a hole in your life when it's missing. That's what I felt with David Raya. It's okay, him claiming a percentage more crosses might be a small thing. Yes, okay, him being able to bait the press in the build-up or step in as a centre-back. Yes, the way he receives the ball, taking less touches than Ramsdale. Yes, the way his body's orientated when he takes itself the left-hand side, he can open his body out a lot smoother than Ramsdale. Ramsdale's taking extra touches, a bit cumbersome. Yes, okay, those aren't, to Steve in block 7, they're not a big deal. But actually,
for no reason.
Sorry, Steve.
Steve, man.
Actually, all of those are, for me, little things that all slowly build up and facilitate the kind of football that we have seen. And I think, if we changed out a centre back, people would be saying we're playing very, very, very differently. We forget that the goalkeeper is the last player. There was an interview with Carl Walker this week where he talks about, he pressed for examples on Rio Ferdinand's show about Pep and sort of the things that he's changed in his footballing ideology. And something he said was interesting. He said, Pep says most teams aren't actually going man for man because they don't press the goalkeeper. So it's
stupid in today's day and age to press the goalie.
Well, very possibly, but the idea that teams go man for man, he says Pep doesn't use that because you've always got the goalkeeper who's the spare man. So you can't go man for man if you're not pressing the goalkeeper, because people don't think about the goalkeeper in those terms. The goalkeeper is your 11th player. He is your person he's your start of your build-up. Forget the fact that he has gloves on. It's another player.
Say? Your goal is your first attacker.
Exactly. So there's all these differences in build-up. There's all differences in their orientation in terms of how they take it, how comfortable they are in the way they receive, in terms of touches in the build-up, in terms of their kicking, in terms of how you can press them either side. And if we were sat here with a loss, I would be talking to you about how that Ramsdale mistake and clearly the instruction by Mikel Arteta at half-time to just pump it long was part of the reason we lost, because we had to keep going long. Brentford could play a slightly different way. We weren't as variable in our build-up. We didn't take different chances, access different spaces, and they were cottoning onto us. Now, I'll come back to the thing that I said at the beginning about Ramsdale. This whole situation has to be taken in because you can see he isn't right. He's probably a little bit underconfident. He's probably trying to prove himself. He's probably trying to show that he's the right sort of
overthinking as well with your minimal moments.
Probably overthinking, but also this is the goalkeeper he sort of is and was. This isn't, this hasn't just happened out of nowhere.
Yep.
We have to take this as a totality of a situation. What we watched, and I'll finish on this. What we watched was Ramsdale, the movie. Brilliant moments,
Moments of madness.
Moments of madness. That's what we watched in one game.
And that's the thing with Ramsdale. It's like, I love the guy to bits, and I don't think Raya's faultless. There's definitely question marks over Raya, but I think the very fact that Ramsdale made the mistake, let alone when he did it, sums up Aaron Ramsdale. I do understand if he's losing confidence, if he feels a bit disheartened, really and truly, having signed a new contract, proving people wrong, being the larger-than-life personality, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, if it's happened for you, it can happen against you. And what I mean by that is what you referred to. You know, this happened with Leno. You know, Arteta likes you and things, but Arteta, behind the smile and things like that, the man is ruthless, as it could be. There could be a day and age where if there's a player 10 times what Bukayo Saka is, he might lose his spot. This is the differences that happen. This is how we're going to get to the end of the line. I think it comes down to Raya might not be 20 million brackets ahead of Ramsdale, but he's more assured of what Arteta demands of him. He keeps a cool head. He's better at that decision making. I know Raya's been in this country from 16 years of age, but he's more of that Spanish ethos. He's just a bit crisper at those passes. Like when I was watching the Brentford game, I like the fact that Ramsdale is trying it. You just haven't got it in your locker. And for me, fundamentally, the move's been backed up. You know, the jury's still out on Raya to a degree, but we're keeping clean sheets. He looks very settled where he is. A couple of times he started, well, really and truly, since he's come into the team, City, Chelsea, you know, Palace, I'm sure, at the Emirates. How many times has he actually started moves very quickly? And it goes back to what I say is he's our first attacker. And you can see why it's working. And I think the glorious thing about this all is, you know, Kai Havertz is finding his form. Raya's obviously found his feet. Not that anyone doesn't care about Ramsdale, but nobody's using Ramsdale with a stick to beat him over the head with. Declan Rice has been great. Obviously, Timber's injured, but our new signings are settled. They're hitting the ground running. I do feel a bit sorry for both Ramsdale and Raya because me and you sat here on this platform and we kind of predicted the circus, really. I don't think Arteta was to blame with how he spoke about having two keepers because it was the same with Leno. But both of me and you sat here and we said, you know what fans are going to do with every good or bad game. There's a lot of comments. I do think the only thing that Raya can improve at like Ramsdale is his positioning, but I think it's a bit different. I just think generally his starting positioning lets him get caught out. I think with Ramsdale, as you said, larger than life personality, great shot stopper. I don't think his positioning is the best. I don't think his commanding of his area is the best. And a lot of goals, which sometimes aren't necessarily his fault. He's far too quick off his line. And that's led to, you know, it was Saka's fault, for example, with Fulham at the Emirates, but he's off his line unnecessarily. I remember a mistake a couple of years ago with Gabriel against Wolves. I can't remember the Wolves lad who scored, but he played it back to him and he was out of position. Yes. So I just think Ramsdale, is just, you're just not levels at this moment. I hope you go somewhere where you play football. You probably knocked about 10 million off the fee with that mistake. And to be fair to Ramsdale, I expect Raya to one day make that mistake because Alisson's done it. We play out from the back. Those things are going to happen. But the problem is, you know, Raya's going to do that a lot less frequent. You know, a lot of people fresh in the memory where it comes to Ramsdale with those sort of errors. And I even think people are unfair to Ramsdale because, you know, there's a reason he got 14 clean sheets or something like that last season. And there's a reason he got a PFA award. But it is what it is, man. Moving away from Ramsdale, though. King Kai, man, Kai Havertz. As much as I think he's been great and he's doing his thing and he's finally showing why he's there, do you think there's a lot of recency bias around him? Especially in relation to, I only ask that because on social media, obviously form dictates things, but I'm seeing, you know, he's a better option at this moment. No, he's a better option generally than Gabriel Jesus. I disagree with that. I think it's different horses for different courses. Right now, Kai's the guy. Actually, against Porto, I know we're going to get onto it, but I'm putting Jesus out wide on the left and Kai up front personally.
I think what you said is bang on. It's horses for courses. It depends on the game, and I think this is my whole frustration with the Declan Rice. Is he a 6? Is he an 8?
Please take it away with Rice as well when you won't, because it would be nice to not sound like a broken record.
It's just irrelevant. It's irrelevant. We'll come on to Rice. I think with Havertz, I think it depends on the game. You know what? Again, with every player, I encourage people to go, and a lot of people do this. I'm not saying this, you know, this is some mad original thought that only I have, but I think there are still some people who are stuck in that way of thinking. Like Kai Havertz is a 9, and if he doesn't play like a 9, then that's it. And if he is an 8 or he is a whatever, what is Kai Havertz's best quality? His associative play, and how does he play? How does he play at number 9? Well, actually, he can run in behind for you, so he can stretch a defense. He can actually he doesn't rotate out wide as much as Jesus, but he's more of a presence, I would say, up there, and more of a target.
Ghosting runs into the box.
I think he can make those near post runs as well. He doesn't quite make those runs across the front post. So, there's a different type of profile there, and it depends what you want to do in the game. I think what we found with Havertz recently is having. I think what he does so well is the as I said, the kind of associative work, the stuff that Jesus, I think, is still a little bit him first, which some strikers need to be. I think he does so much facilitative work, and that's great. But I think in many ways he's similar to Nketiah in that I still think it's a little bit going, I want to get the goal, I want to get this, which is completely fair. I think Havertz would genuinely be happy to do whatever Mikel asks him to. And without a kind of ego.
Arteta said he's a guy you want to go to war with, and that's big. I think that's the biggest praise he'll ever give him. If I'm honest, anybody can get.
The off the ball stuff is amazing. I think he beats Jesus in terms of that, certainly on the numbers. So yeah, I think it's any kind of situation. Okay, right. So Arsenal got the ball on the left hand side. What does Kai Havertz want to be doing? Right. Well, I need to be occupying the two centre backs to create the space for Declan Rice to crash into. Or Martinelli's got the ball. What do I need to do? I'm going to make that near post run to drag that centre back to create the space for Rice to crash the box. Whatever it is, whatever you're asking him to do, I think he's doing that. With Jesus, I think he's making the run to receive the ball. You see what I mean? Or
Resilience.
Maybe, but ball to feet. And he's still facilitative, but it's a different type of facilitation. So I agree. I just think it's different. And I think Kai is, the goals he's scored are quite formulaic, quite systemic. They're not sort of individual brilliance. They're moments where he's crushing the box at, the goal against Newcastle is a perfect example. He sees where Martinelli's going. He goes, well, Martinelli is. I
think he reckons he sees what Jorginho's doing, let alone Martinelli. But you're right, man. Like it's just synergy.
Yeah, possibly. Martinelli gets it. Martinelli goes, I know if I crush it back to the box, someone is going to be attacking the 6-yard box. So he puts it back in. Havertz knows where he's going. He scores that goal. The goal against it's Brentford. It's a brilliant cross from Ben White, but he's in those kind of dual 10 positions in the box that Mikel wants, which he had with Rice as well. So it's different. But I think a lot of them are a systemic type of goals, apart from obviously the Sheffield one, which was a mistake. So, even I put it this way as well: the big moments in Arsenal's season, or the big games that we've needed, he has been there every single time. Of course, the actual moments themselves. So the knockdown for Martinelli to score against City, or the goal against Liverpool where he misses.
He was involved in the Chelsea one as well.
Possibly, yeah. But actually, his best. If you go back and say, what have been Kai's best performances this season? I
think Newcastle away, I don't think people give him credit, but I think Newcastle away. Obviously, we lost. No one cares.
100%. But they've been in massive games. They've been in massive games, or games where Arsenal are struggling to put something together. I think he's stepped up at a time when we needed him, and I think I always say this: I'd never want to change a winning team, so I'd start with Havertz, but I reserve the right to change after 20 minutes. People say, "Oh, would you start Havertz or Jesus?" Well, yeah, Havertz and start. If it doesn't work out, then we'll play Jesus. That's why you have a squad, But I don't want to change a winning team.
I think you're bang on. I think again, me and you have done these videos for a while, and both of me and you sat here and we said, you know what? We can see the usage when Havertz initially signed. We can see why Arteta would want him. We might not be 100% convinced in anything, but we reserve the right to trust the manager, comment week in, week out, and change our opinions if things happen. Me with Kai Havertz, I a bit of a hypocrite, kind of what you said there. I, to a degree, get fixated on certain positions and certain things. But I think with Havertz, you have to accept there's going to be an occasion he's going to play in midfield, and you might be left wanting more. He can do a job up front. Well, I'm happy with him. He's versatile. He's multifunctional. I think the best point you said there is, you alluded to, there's an element of selflessness from him. Like, he's just happy to be there, happy to go to war. As I said, he's a shithouser. He makes great runs off the ball. He's very intelligent in that regards. I think me and you are both shameless because we've done videos on this. And I must admit, I'm just playing the game on YouTube. I don't believe he's the next Robin van Persie. But do you genuinely believe he could become a clinical striker? Because while I like what he's doing, he's a bit of an enigma because he's doing all the things we're praising him for. And then, it's like in the last couple of games, he's had time to think about the chances. And then it's kind of been woeful, but he's done the job, man. Do you really think that's a Van Persie regen there? If we stop being shameless for a sec.
No, and also I didn't say it in the video, which I found hilarious.
No, but we both kind of played the game on the titles and things like that. And you know, people take it.
It's a shop window. Look, you have to do it. But
exactly.
I wasn't. I think what I was referring to was the shouts for him to be our number 9, which is and then people have compared him to Van Persie, and then I look at that and I say, well, Van Persie had it. Whatever that kind of that smell, that killer's instinct. There's so many moments. There was a moment against Brentford. I can't remember what it was, but there was a moment where I just watched it. I was like, "That's not a striker's movement." And there's so many moments where we're breaking, and he's sort of behind play. He's not rushing to get to that near post to get that tap.
He ain't got the striker's instinct per se, like in that regard.
Yeah, I think if Mikel wanted him to, he would, but that's not who he is. Again, another Pep thing. I'm watching a lot of Pep interviews at the minute. He talks about the players teaching you. Yes, of course, you have principles and ideas you'd like to play and creating overloads and cooperative superiority and all that stuff, right? Yeah, okay. But actually, the John Stones role comes because guess what? John Stones plays it. It's the players teach you. So yes, Kai Havertz, you can go.
Sorry to cut you, but Sean, just based on what you said there, before I let you go on, Sean Dyche has something similar with Dele Alli to aid your point about players teaching them. But yeah, go on, man.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. I think you made.
I think we from the outside, because I think also I'd love to read some good analysis or hopefully try and write some about how a lot of people consume football as a TV program, and it affects how they think about it. It's almost like we view it from a very that sort of angle where we're looking back and forgetting that it's humans on a pitch and think there's random things that are going on. And I think it's why people get so annoyed about it, because the TV program isn't doing what the TV program should be doing. And it divorces it from what it is, a real life experience. And I think with that, you have different qualities in different people. And one of the credits I'd say to Mikel is he's brought out the best of Kai Havertz and put it in that system. Yes, Kai Havertz still needs to press in the right way. Yes, Kai Havertz still needs to be available, and Kai Havertz still needs to stand on the shoulder when he does. But actually, Mikel's made a system where the fullback, the wingers, can cut it back to him, or there's a, okay, right, well, in this game we're going to
enhance his strengths and minimizing the weaknesses.
We're going to send it long to him because that's his strength, or whatever it is. The Van Persie thing. Look, this kind of comes onto a different conversation. Maybe this isn't where you wanted to go, but
no, go where you want to go, mate. Go where you want to go. This is why you're on the stream. Make sure you're hitting the like button and subscribing, people. We need to get different, not to 100k subs, but let him talk his magic. Go on, man.
There will be people watching this who say we need a striker, right? And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I want to ask some questions. So what do you want from a striker? And they'll go, I want goals.
I want goals, okay, mate.
Oh. Steven, block 7.
Yeah. Stand in the box, put ball in the net.
I want goals. Okay, fine. But Arsenal scored 88 goals last season, which is a Premier League record. Okay.
Need to get to 100 now, man.
We're now sat on, I think it's something around 70, or I think something like 70 goals, right? So we're on course to break that record. So do you want goals? Really? Is that what this team needs? Goals? Because it feels like we don't need goals. What we want, maybe, I would offer, is security. We want we want definiteness, essentially. Exactly. 100 goals. We need 100 goals. Look at those tabs. Absolute disgrace.
Oh, you know what? I should have known better. Aaron Ramsdale mistake from me, boys. Get me out. I should have known this guy's coming on my platform.
I'm Wisser. Yeah,
bloody up. I should have known, man. You know what? I hold my hands up.
Tab police. Yeah. So I think what we want is, maybe you want a number 9, but when you say, because we need guaranteed goals, well, we're getting guaranteed goals. So what you want, I think, is security. That's what I think is really.
What do you mean by security for someone that might be agreeing with you but not necessarily know what you're feeling?
I will expand.
This is why we got him here, folks.
So we go into certain games going where is the goal coming from? Now, I would argue that we're developing inevitabilities. So this is, again, I've sat on this platform saying I want an inevitable type of player. And now that might come in the form of a So we're looking for it. We're looking, is that a Van Persie-esque Kai Havertz regen, or is that Martinelli coming in centrally, or is that Saka, whatever? I think it's Saka. I think Saka can be, and has been, if you look at the numbers, is beginning to become inevitable. He's beginning to become the player who we can rely on to score, right? But also, we're also developing other areas in a more well-rounded team that can score goals in different areas. And Kai Havertz is adding something we didn't have before, which is what I bring it back to. So maybe we don't need a number 9, because Kai Havertz is developing certain parts of what a number 9 might be, the target part of it, the pace in behind part of it. We don't yet, though, have the ball striking or the box presence, I don't think. That's what I'm interested in. The goals, I think we're beginning to get. So I hear people wanting to go, well, Havertz is the 9. Hang on a minute. Havertz can be a 9.
It's a different option.
It's a different option. What are we actually missing? Because it's not goals. It's not a target centre forward. We've got that now, and we're developing that. Don't rush and cling on to that. I would suggest take a step back. What are we missing from that front line? It's a box presence who can create separation in the box, who can move centre backs in a different way, who can maybe run the channels a little bit more, who's a bit of an aerial presence. A taller number 9. Does that have to be Victor Osimhen rip up the whole attack and stifle the associative work that gets Saka, the inevitability that he has, that puts Martinelli in positions where he can, grow to what he wants him to be, who can create the space for Ødegaard to score his 15 goals from the top of the box? Wouldn't it be better to have 5, 7, 8 different options and ways of scoring goals that are reliable for us, whether it's Fabio Vieira's half-space crossing, whether it's Ødegaard top of the box, whether it's Saka cutting in, whether it's Declan Rice crashing and
dead balls and set pieces.
Wouldn't that be better? And then adding Havertz as this slightly different style of 9, and then another, rather than going, we need that absolute security. Can't we see that we're growing that level of security with all these different options? Now, that doesn't look like Erling Haaland, which I appreciate people are going to be annoyed at, but I actually think it might benefit us in the long term.
I'm with you with that, man. I think, obviously I would love a Osimhen and all of these guys as striker, but I always say, our first, in the same way I think Raya's our first attacker, our first defender is the striker. I do think people downplay the absolute defensive shift you have to put in up front. And I would say, well, every position in Arsenal's, in Mikel Arteta's side is difficult to play. But I say, when you look at what he demands from a central midfielder, an inverted fullback and a striker, there's a certain sort of niche you have to have, whether it's been Kai Havertz, Jesus or Trossard. Eddie Nketiah is a bit of an anomaly, but you get where I'm going with that. So I think people need to consider all the other variables. I hate to be that guy and talk about general play and dropping deep and offering angles, but it's going to be needed. You're gonna have to have that balance, bro. Like, you're gonna have to drop deep and be selfless and arrive in there.
If you are watching, just on that, if you're watching Martin Ødegaard simultaneously put up the best creative numbers in Europe, the most chances created in Europe, and also leading our press, and thinking that Mikel's going to let us get away with an Erling Haaland,
and just someone standing up front as well, especially in games like where you look at Haaland when he played against Saliba, or even at the weekend. Haaland, I think his general plays improved, but he's a service-reliant guy. He's irrelevant to a football game if you're not in it, as you saw with Liverpool to a degree. So I'm actually of the belief now that we're not going to get an Osimhen. I don't know this Gyökeres Sporting Lisbon guy to a T to be saying he's the guy, but he can play up front, he can play on the left and play on the right. I just think we're looking for another body that's going to bring in a certain significant amount of goals, because as we saw with that thing I put up, we go from being a team that gets 60 to 80 to 100. And I do think it is there. Saka shown he can do it. I know Martinelli and Ødegaard haven't quite been on all cylinders like last season, but they could do that if Kai Havertz can keep scoring with Declan Rice. There's goals all over the side, really and truly, and you need that. I don't want one player isn't going to get us 100 league goals or 20 and make the difference.
Absolutely. And maybe they do, but then you become a single point of failure.
This is it, and we've been here before.
Exactly, and we know from injuries that we need different ways to skin the cat, and we're developing them. We've got 6, 7, 8 different ways of doing it.
Don't let Kurt Zuma hear that, man.
I also will say, maybe it's worth ripping up all these options and remodeling the attack and relying on one person when you can sign Erling Haaland, because he's a generational player. But when you're signing the next rung down, when it's less of a guarantee, when you're not getting 30, 40 goals a season, almost guaranteed.
Cyborg settings.
There's no point. Don't do it. It's like, don't remodel your entire midfield around Declan Rice unless you can get Declan Rice. See what I mean?
Yeah.
There's different ways.
So with Chelsea, they could get Caicedo. It hasn't worked out, has it?
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. It's the same situations as Pep was saying earlier. Pep was saying, my mate Pep, as I was watching Pep say, you build around the players. So for me, I think we've ended up in a situation where we have a number of different ways of skinning the bleep for Kurt watching, and I think that's all we need to do is add different ways of doing that, more different ways of doing that, and I think we will.
And I'm with you with that, man. Would you take Isaac just because I saw it there?
I like him. I don't think he's a different profile to what we have. What I think we need is to move on Eddie and Reece and basically create those squad roles as, you know, a Ferguson and a Neto. I'm not saying necessarily, but Ferguson's closer to that profile than what we're missing. It's like, let me turn it back to you. What do you think as a winger on the sides? What are we missing?
I would say for Mikel Arteta, and it's a bit weird because I know we've got Martinelli. I would say he wants that balance of being an inside forward and a bit of a throwback winger, like that explosiveness. Because you look at when we didn't get Pedro Neto, you look at when we didn't get Rafinha, and I know he scored yesterday and he ain't been amazing in the Prem, but you look at Mudryk, really. I think that is what Mikel Arteta wants. I think that is a plan B sort of thing. I think where you look at Saka, he's an inside forward. Obviously, Trossard's quick and he can dribble and stuff, but he's more of a cute player. I think he wants that explosion, if I'm honest. And then when I look at that, what's that guy's name, man? His name's evaded me. The Spanish guy, man.
Nico Williams.
The winger. Yeah, him. He's quite... I'm not necessarily convinced on him, but I like the fact that he is raw and I can understand how Mikel Arteta can get a trick out of him. He's very pacey. I think that's what we're missing because at the end of the day, pace to a degree. I know Arteta plays chess and stuff, but our organic way of just breaking teams down is pace. That's one of the most annoying things to deal with in football. Typically, a lot of players have pace but don't have a brain. But I think he's looking for pace, man. And I think that's why it's been quite peculiar when we've gone for wingers. And when we have gone for these very few wingers, we've actually aggressively tried to get them. Obviously, we ain't got over the line, but I would say pace to you to answer the question you countered me with. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it basically we're looking for something we don't already have on the wings, and that can look and can be a number of things. Nico Williams, again, this is George's words, creative fixing. Well, that's a very opaque football speak. What does that mean? Beating his man, essentially beating your man 1v1, stopping and starting someone, and essentially, you know, creating moments where they commit and you go
back as well. You know, you don't want to get in a foot race with quick players.
Saka is a lot more holds off his man, plays those little 1-2s, little dink inside the box. Someone who can beat his man 1v1. I think we're missing someone who's got a bit of pace in behind. The pace thing, I'm less interested in personally, just because we play so many low blocks. But again, it's interesting. I think if Doku was on the market this summer, we go for Doku because that's something we have brilliant dribblers.
For us. Do we
have one of the best dribblers in the world? I don't know. So it's and for me, Mudryk I look at for ball striking and stuff because we don't have that. We've actually got a lot of profile space on the wings. We don't have much profile space in the middle. What we really need is a presence. I don't think we have that yet.
Where are we at with centre midfield? Because one love to Jorginho and, you know, he's doing his thing, but we need that long-term Jorginho to the Declan Rice, man. I know we shouldn't get caught on the 6s and 8s, but when Declan Rice has that license to roam, be that all-action guy, it arouses my imagination, man. And it just makes you look at Declan Rice in an even better light. Like, I say this every week with Declan Rice. Like, I know you're fucking good, but every week you fucking show me you're better. Like, that left 8... I need to see Declan Rice there, man. Like, surely we need another midfielder in the summer. I think it will be one because kind of going back to what you said, I would like to, but I think Jorginho will stay. Going back to what you said earlier about, you know, Kai Havertz can put in a shift in a number of roles. I think there's plenty of game time for Kai Havertz to do exactly that. But I do want that long-term Declan Rice partner. You look at our defensive options, you look at our striking options. The one area of the field that doesn't provide too much longevity and a lot of question marks really is our midfield. For as good as Partey and Jorginho and them man are. But yeah, man.
I like that you say one love to Jorginho. Is that your equivalent of no offense, but?
No, yeah. I mean, I like Jorginho, but it's like with Jorginho, I'm a big fan of you. I'm a big fan of you off the field, even though I can't see what you're doing. I like what you do on the pitch because you're an enhancer. I just love intelligent footballers. But the only knock I can have against Jorginho is, you know, he's getting older. And where you look at how Mikel Arteta utilizes him, he's not a Declan Rice that's going to play 30 of the 38 games. So I want to have Jorginho, but someone else that comes in. So that's what we need, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's that long-term Rice.
But One love to him, but
yeah, one love. Like, El Nene, you're my guy. But
yeah, you're my guy.
Your card needs to decline when you try and get into London Poly next year.
Love the prayer room. Just might be
exactly.
might be your biggest contribution this season. Look, for me, we are missing objectively profiles up front. I think we're also missing a profile at the back and numbers at the back. Yeah. I think we could be missing a goalkeeper. The midfield is an area where I think we're due an upgrade, but I don't think we're numbers wise struggling. It would depend who leaves. So let's put it like this: Rice isn't leaving. Please God.
He's the one that provides all the good questions.
If Smith Rowe leaves, I think we then lack a bit of ball carrying, which could come from Timber. What's wrong?
Don't say Smith Rowe leaving, man.
He might, mate. He might.
Yeah, I know.
And we're also missing someone who can receive high up in a block. The ideal replacement for Smith Rowe, I'm telling you, is Phil Foden. We don't have that in our team.
Yeah, you're dreaming.
But as in
Palmer in the summer or something. Really.
But someone who can do that, And look, mate, 2 summers ago we could have signed Phil Foden. Anyway, someone who can receive in the block high up, someone who can take it on the half turn and go. We don't have that, and a ball carrier through midfield. I don't think we have that if Smith Rowe goes. Smith Rowe currently is our closest to that. The question is his development. But that's not a numbers issue or a profile issue. That's just a development issue. People are shouting out Musiala as well, which I don't think is a bad shout.
I mean, we'd love Musiala, but you need some big money for that.
Yeah. Well, I think he's 18 months left on his deal, or maybe coming up to a year left on his deal. So anyway,
I'm like a date with Kelly Rowland, but you can't have everything in life, man. So my God, my friend.
Jorginho, we have that kind of metronomic controller, someone who can evade press in the first phase, but also be that kind of pin. Once we're in the final third, what he's so good at is holding his position centrally and just being that person who can play that ball over the top. Someone who you can just basically, but it's the release valve, right? Saka's got it on the right wing, not a little bit of space, back to Jorginho. Jorginho plays out to the other side. Martinelli tries a dribble, doesn't quite work. Inside, comes back to Jorginho. It's that sort of pin, which I don't think we have. Obviously, his passing range is unbelievable. Rice is a bit more physical, has a bit more of a box presence, and a bit more of a tackling inception. So, and Partey's progression. So I think we actually have a lot of the right profiles in our midfield. Fabio Vieira, final balls, bit of pace and behind actually for Fabio Vieira. We saw
he's got one of the best final balls in the team. The man just needs to stay fit and show some consistency. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. You started going, Jim. I see you tweet that. Maybe you need to take Fabio Vieira with you, man. I can't lie.
Yes, how to gain 3 kilograms in 2 years. This is gym profile. I think. Look, I think in the midfield there's a lot of like question marks, but not number question marks.
Yeah,
it depends on who leaves. Let's do some scenarios. If Smith Rowe leaves, I think someone like let's do this. If Jorginho left, I would be looking at someone like a Zubimendi, because that is someone who is intelligent in between the lines. He's a little bit less, from what I've seen, and again, it's difficult to translate, but he's a little bit less, not necessarily punchy, but I think Jorginho is a little bit more aggressive in his pass selection. So Mendy seems a little bit conservative, but he's really solid in that. So
he counteracts that. He's a tiny bit more. I hate to use this because when you look at his metrics,
he's a bit more athletic.
He's definitely more athletic. Yeah, I think Zubimendi's perfect for us. I don't think he's a perfect player, and I think he's one of those players that when they become just a talking point within a fan base, they start to behave like they're the Messiah. And it's not that thing. He's very good, but he's gonna have to learn, man.
Yeah. So, but then, you sign Zubimendi and you get that set of skills, and then you go, okay, then do we need Partey long term? So it's a real dance for me. It will just depend on what happens and how players develop in the midfield person.
And I'm with you with that. And I think for me, defensively, we've got some very good options. I just think we need another defensive body, because Cedric's been our only, apart from the Brentford game, he's been up. Yeah, it's Cedric, man. Shout out to him. He's been our only fit defender, really and truly. I don't know why Waters hasn't been given a look. I'm not criticizing Arteta, he just hasn't. So yeah, I would like I've told you before, my preference would be a Timber, Tomiyasu kind of versatile guy that can play across the back four. Whether we're able to find that, I don't know. So it is what it is. The kind of closing statements, man. Porto, man. Let's talk about it in depth. Beyond the obvious, what's at stake? How do you feel the game's going? What do you make of Martinelli's injury? Everything, Porto, man. How do you think the game's going?
Big game. Big game,
mate. Told you that's why we want a striker.
Yeah, I don't want us to be shy. I don't want us to come out. I don't want to see a Jorginho, Smith Rowe, Rice, Trossard, Havertz type situation. I don't want to see that. I want to see Saka. I want to see Jesus, Havertz, Rice, Odegaard, Jorginho. And just Jorginho sit at the base, and everyone else just get forward, get those players forward, play proper football, because we can beat them. We are better than them qualitatively. The Emirates is going to be absolutely rocking.
Needs to be.
And it will be. It will be. And I think people kind of downplay that a little bit, but you look at Anfield and you can see the difference it makes. You can literally feel it.
That second half against City for Liverpool. Woof.
People say it's fine margins, but we're in a game of fine margins.
We need every fine margin we can get. That's why we lost this first leg.
If you get that 1% from the crowd, that could be the difference between winning and losing. So I think it's huge. So yeah, I think the crowd's going to be important. I want us to go all out. I want us to be a lot braver in our pass selection than we were at the wherever their stadium's called, Stadio Deluded. So
you're asking the wrong guy. I'm going with whatever you're sick boy. I don't know.
So I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me. Yeah, I want us to be a lot braver on our pass selection. I want us to try different things. We were really conservative in the first phase. I want us to try break the lines. I want us to try and switch. I want us to try, or not. And it's not doing it all at the same time, but going like, right, there's a 20-minute period here where we think we can get some space in behind. So let's just do that. Right, there's a 5-minute period here. Being intelligent in the game to understand when the moments are to step on. And it's street smart, but it's street smart of the understanding of the rhythms of the game. There's periods of a game where you actually need to settle back and just hold it.
Exactly.
There's periods of a game where you need to absolutely to go after it. So
it's a boxing match essentially. It's like there's times to try and go for the knockout, and there's times you've got to be patient and bide your time. And that's where I think I'm going to be interested to see, because in an ideal world, we do what we've been doing up until the Brentford game, because it weren't quite that. We start well, we blitz teams, aggression, the fans are all up for us. But I think it's a game of mentality, because I'd imagine Porto are going to sit back, let us come onto them and allow themselves to be broken. Well, not allow themselves to be broken down and try and counterattack. If that was to happen, like if we started well and that was to happen and they have one counterattack and they score and we're 2-0 down, that's where I want to see the mentality. I hope it doesn't go that way. But I think as you said, I think it's a game for fine margins. I think it's going to be a bit of a tactical battle. I think it's one where, as silly as it sounds, I think Mikel Arteta can only tell these players so much. I think the players have got to go out there and change the reality. At the end of the day, you're going out. You wanted to be in the Champions League. It's stand up to be counted, really and truly. And I don't know where you'd sit with this, but would it be a failure if we went out this early?
I mean, yes, but then it's a failure, and then sack him. It's a failure.
I'm not asking you that.
No. I know you're not saying that, but there will be some people say it's a failure. Get him out.
Yeah, get him out. He can't get us over the lane.
Yeah, it would be a failure because we failed to advance. So I'm not going to shy away from that. But what I would say is it would depend on the context of the game. I think I'd only then it will depend on how we play. It will depend on how we play.
Raya's not going to get done from the halfway line in Europe against Portuguese side. I know that much at the Emirates, so he should be all right. Ramsdale, you didn't deserve that. I'm sorry. Would you go with Zinchenko or Kirill now? I must admit, I'm tempted, I'm tempted because I want to keep Kirill, but I did feel at Porto away. We missed him.
I don't like changing winning teams. If it's not working by half time, bring Zinchenko on, but I don't like changing winning teams.
Trossard or Jesus off the left?
Jesus.
See, I'm with that as well, man. It's one where I feel sorry for Trossard. I always say I wish we could play 12 players. I don't think he's taking his chances necessarily, but Jesus is a different animal in the Champions League. His experience, let's tap into that. And I actually think with Havertz's selflessness that we've been talking about for the majority of this podcast, I actually think Jesus would be the type of guy to score. Obviously, Saka's the star boy, can make things happen. But I don't care who scores, how we score, just that we do such, man. Again, this is our last game before before City. I wanted to ask you that as well, man. Do you think it's a gift or a curse that obviously we've turned our form around? The games have been coming thick and fast. Obviously, we're playing today, and then it's a couple of weeks off, if that, and then we've got Man City at the end of the month. Do you think that's a gift or a curse, or would you prefer for the games to be like we're playing today and then we're playing City on the weekend and then whatever?
Personally, I'd like to play City on the weekend, but that could just be my nerves. I mean, it's not even a case of, we need to get some players back, because it sounds like Tomiyasu hopefully might be back with the squad. Timber's back in training, so we're basically nearly at full fitness, which is really, really, really important. Maybe Timber will be in a match day squad by the time we play City. Look, personally, for my nerves and to just get it over and done with, I'd rather us play City this weekend. But it is what it is. I don't know. I haven't really got much to say on that. It is what it is.
But Alex,
big game.
Big game, man. Like I don't know what to say. Me, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm everything, man. I think these are the games where it's like I'd rather just go for it, bro. I'd rather, in life, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees, innit? So it's like we might as well just go out there. Really, if they've got a gun to our head, they might as well fucking shoot. Like let's just go out there and do what needs to be done.
I think the most frustrating thing would be we let them beat us. Don't allow it to be a situation where we beat ourselves. If we go for it and we are absolutely at it for 90 minutes and we lose,
you can only hold your hands up.
You can hold your hands up and go, do you know what? Porto were the better team on the night. They're the better team over the two legs.
But don't let it be team. Like with the first leg.
Yeah, but don't go out there and think, oh, we could have. Just go for it. Just go for it.
And if I'm honest with you, I'm looking at everyone, but I'm looking at the people, the captain, Martin Odegaard. I'm looking at Declan Rice, who's won in Europe. I'm looking at Jorginho. I'm looking at Havertz. I'm looking at Jesus. I'm looking at Zinchenko if you lot play. I'm actually looking, it's a bit weird, but I'm looking at David Raya in the sense of one thing I respect about David Raya is it doesn't matter the context, the game, the pressure. He's still playing the same way. I need all of that today. Last question then. What are we saying for score predictions then? Do you know what? I'm going to say 3-0 Arsenal, 3-1 on aggregate. I'm going to say 3-0. I was going to say 2-0. I thought, you're kind of gassing me a bit. So I'm going to go 3-0 Arsenal, man. What we got?
I'm going to go 3-1. 3-1. I think they might score first. I've got this bad feeling they're going to score early and everyone gets nervous. But
I've said this before. Boy, I don't know. And even, do you know how funny it is? Even that guy who I forgot his name, but he scored in the first leg. He's been called up to the Brazil squad instead of Martinelli.
Galero.
Yeah, so he's got a lot to play for today. I want to smash them because rightly so, they earned the right to talk. But I'm sure you've seen it. The Porto gaffer after the game, like he's a bit smug, isn't he? Really, as you would be, man. Yeah. Boy. Man said 7-1. I'd love that to be the case. Like, but I'd more for the 3s and the 5s and whatnot. Let people know where they can find you, man. I can't imagine they don't know. You're close to 60,000 people. As I said, get this guy to 100K by the end of the year, or he's never be returning to this platform, man.
The Different Knock. Search me on YouTube, The Different Knock. Find me on Twitter at DiffKnock, and also my personal account at AMOnFootball.
And there we have it, people. Again, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. I'm sure you've disagreed with plenty of what Alex and myself have said. Let us know your thoughts. Yeah, I hope not.
Just remember, football is objective, and I've got all the right opinions. So you're actually wrong.
And on that note, people, hit the like button, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. And hopefully the next time we're live together, we're still enjoying your spirits. But for now, peace. There's always just that active and defending. I think, like.